he's Hunter.
And he's Andrew. And
We're
we're good boys.
boys.
So, if you know anything about me, you know I'm a really big fan of A Christmas Carol. I think not only is it the greatest Christmas story, but it's one of the greatest stories ever told in Western literature. I'm very firm in that opinion. I think it's perfect. I think it's so adaptable to pretty much anything. You can do whatever you want with the basic points of the story. It's incredible. So that ties into the fact that yesterday I went on a little tour of St. Augustine. And what St. Augustine does every year, since there's no snow or cold or any definable aspects of winter whatsoever, they do I think they just call it Night of Lights, singular, but it's every night. Like for the entire month of December, almost the entirety of the downtown is covered in just really nice Christmas lights.
Yeah,
It's very lovely.
Nights of Lights doesn't roll off as
It's too
well.
many S's.
Nights of Lights.
They used to call it that, but then some tourist showed up with a stutter. It was a disaster.
Yeah, no.
So I decided to go on a little tour of it, which might be dumb to begin with because I've already walked around and seen all the lights. They're publicly viewable. You're not seeing anything you don't already see for free. But I wanted to do something because they do little tours on like 8-person golf carts that are, you can either have a regular host or you can get it hosted by a character. You can do Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, the Grinch, or Ebenezer Scrooge.
And you get the choice. It's not just like
Yeah, I signed up for it. I paid for this specific one.
Okay.
So I paid to get Ebenezer Scrooge. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be really fun. I'm such a fan of A Christmas Carol. We're going to get this like cranky, crotchety, not maybe literally old man, but someone impersonating an old man. And I wonder how they'll try to intricate, mix in elements of the plot and story into the tour and pointing out lights and how, I wonder how much they'll try to quote from the original or whatever else. And we get there, and I'm going to send you a picture that you can include here of what he looked like. First of all, it was quite terrifying. It's a guy in a mask that's a little too realistic, but you can still completely see his eyes through it. I couldn't look directly at him. It was terrifying.
So it was like a rubber mask, but it was like the eyes are his eyes.
But it wasn't
so
just rubber. Like he had long hair, like you sometimes see on Scrooge. Like it was a whole thing. It was quite unsettling. And I'm riding shotgun because I'm there alone. And we immediately get into it. And dude, it was not at all like Ebenezer Scrooge, because very obviously, and he even clarified this for one of the other passengers after the tour, this guy also plays the Grinch. And let me tell you, I saw the Grinch character. It's not just someone in a plastic mask. It's a full makeup thing. They go all out. But it's very obvious this guy also does the Grinch because it's the same damn tour. He just played the Grinch the entire time, but just dressed as Ebenezer Scrooge. We are driving around St. Augustine, so which is packed with tourists. We're driving around
it's you, Scrooge, and a driver, or is Scrooge the driver?
Scrooge is driving. He's right. He's behind the wheel. He's behind the wheel. I'm next to him. We got a family in the back, and we're just going around, and he's yelling, Christmas sucks. I hope you all have a miserable time. Oh, look at that. What an ugly family.
Literally just the Grinch.
He's literally just the Grinch. He's driving around. He's making sure we hit every pothole. We're getting behind people. He's laying on the horn real loud. We're cutting people off in traffic. A woman put down her window to yell at us, and he's yelling back at her, and he's just yelling, oh, look at these people. Oh, I hate Christmas. It's terrible. He's got Christmas carols playing, and he's overlaying, with some crass lyrics.
He commits, though. Like, he's cut.
Dude, he commits. So it was honestly like watching a live Impractical Jokers episode, because part of this is just fucking with people. Like,
but you were part of it, though.
I'm witnessing it. I'm there for the ride, because there are a lot of handsome cabs around, little horse and buggies because that was another part of the tour. You can get your own horse and buggy, share it with, a special someone. They give you wine glasses. It's nice. You're just riding around. we're in a golf cart coming up behind these people. He's just laying on the horn screaming, "You picked the slowest reindeer!" And the driver obviously knows what's happening. This happens every night of December for them. The couple doesn't know what's happening. They're just turning around like, what? And he talked about how sometimes he likes to pull in front of people to steal their parking spaces after they've been looking around for an hour for street parking. That's fun. We're driving down, and he literally pulls up onto the curb slightly so he can smack the walk sign so the truck behind us has to stop. Like, he's actively just fucking with everyone around us, which is hilarious. The actual, like, I don't know, the actual public interaction was very funny. I'm laughing. When
Is he younger? Is he a young guy, or can you not tell?
He's clearly been doing it. He's just middle-aged, at least late 30s. He's been doing this a couple years, from what I could observe. At one point, he stops like down, a little side street, and he's like, "Oh, I need someone to go grab something over there. There's a light. It's part of the tour." The family has like their 8-year-old son get out. As soon as he gets out, Scrooge guns it, and we just start leaving this kid behind, and the kid starts chasing the golf cart. And it's real blue collar humor. He's making jokes like, "Oh yeah, Mrs. Claus should be on the naughty list," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's all shouting. Half of it is just pointing out to people on the street, "Hey, ugly!" Or we walked past a couple, and he just yelled out to them, "She's been wanting you to hold her hand for a mile," because they were just walking separately. A guy crossed the street, but not on the the crosswalk. And he's just like, "Hey, yeah, you missed the crosswalk by 6 feet. You really nailed that one." Like, it's just stuff like that. And it's just like, if I chose the Grinch, this would be amazing.
Yeah.
But it's Ebenezer Scrooge, who is like a crotchety, kind of cruel old man. He's not belligerent. He's not yelling. He's like, I, honest to God, went into this expecting like lines from the story, like, "Christmas is a poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December," something like that.
Yeah.
Or "If they would rather die, then they'd better do it and decrease the surplus population." Like, like Dickens
Scrooge stuff. Yeah.
This guy, he made one vague reference to Tiny Tim. I don't even remember what it was. It was like comparing something else to it. And at one point, he reminded us like, "Oh yeah, I'm really cheap." Besides that, nothing about this was identifiably Scrooge. It was just the Grinch in a different mask. It was crazy.
What did the tour cost?
So I think it was $35, and then like a 20% tip brought it up to what, like 43 or something.
Yeah.
And I tipped 20% automatically when I bought the ticket beforehand. And then afterwards, you'll like this. Afterwards, I saw, because it said on the website, like, you can either tip now or just give them cash afterwards, that sort of thing. And I saw after we got off, the one couple that participated in the tour, they handed him some, money. And afterwards, we all got pictures with him as the character and everything. And afterwards, I'm walking away, and he goes like, "What? No tip?" And I thought about saying like, "Oh, I already did," but no, I try to bring it around like, "Oh, I learned from the best." Trying to bring it back to, you're supposed to be Ebenezer Scrooge. I don't know if that landed, but as I'm walking away,
he called you Max and beat you.
As I'm walking, I'm walking away, that took a second, but that was good.
Yeah, you got that.
As I'm walking away, the other couple walks up to him right after he said that about the tip. He's like, "Oh, it's fine. He's alone for Christmas."
Oh, that's pretty great. That's really good.
He's good at his job. It's just not Ebenezer Scrooge.
I think that that next year you should go and you should do the Grinch tour and just watch him play Scrooge. That's awesome, though. That sounds like
just fun. The Grinch going, "Every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart."
Exactly. Just
we fold like Dickensian on it.
Yeah. So $50 wouldn't be bad if you got the character you paid for.
No, exactly. And I can't say I didn't have some fun on it. And also it'd be a lot of fun, if you're with someone and kind of sharing the banter. I'm like
Yeah.
awkwardly sitting next to him during this, thinking like, oh, gotta make sure to laugh the appropriate amount because I'm the closest to his periphery.
Yeah, you don't want the guy to feel bad.
Exactly.
He's working hard.
It was definitely worth the money, and it was like a 35, 40-minute tour.
Yeah, why not? It's something to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's but I also thought he was going to point out, like, I guess I don't know why I expected this choosing the tour I did, but I thought it was going to be like, oh yeah, these buildings been having this light show since 1974 or something like that. You learned nothing on this tour, not a goddamn thing.
It was just
him.
him.
At one point he drove by a little shop that was closed. He took a wreath off next to the door, put it on the street, and then ran it over.
That is insane. This guy is a crazy person. That's hilarious, though.
He's committed to the bit. It was something. Again, you were driving through small town traffic that's already crowded and everything, and you just get this golf cart behind you just laying on the horn and a guy screaming at you. Half the people look and say, oh, he's wearing a mask, this is a bit. Half the people, I'm sure, don't know what's happening.
And even if they do,
they're still annoyed. Like,
yeah,
if someone honks at you, no matter what the situation is, you kind of tense up. Like, this is.
I am glad that you went with that tour instead of the horse and buggy. Just drink a glass of wine by yourself.
By myself, under the blanket.
Yeah, like, this is cozy. This is so nice.
Merry
I love
Christmas
the holidays.
to me. I love the holidays.
Oh man. All right, I'll tell you a Christmas story. It's not as funny. Some would even say it's a little bit of a bummer. So
well, I'm a big believer that the holidays require an element of darkness. That's why I think A Christmas Carol is so perfect. Oh, sorry, last bit. By the way, no mention of the ghosts, the spirits, haunting, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No ratting the chains, nothing like that.
No, no mention of ghosts whatsoever. Like, there was incredible. But no, I'm a big believer, like, that's why Christmas Carol is so perfect. It has that kind of dark, scary element, which I think needs to be part of the holidays.
I mean, whenever you're not in a tropical climate, it's winter's kind of spooky. Like, the vibe around it's kind of spooky. If you just see like string lights hanging on a street, right? Everything else is dark, and you see there's something eerie and a little bit spooky about just like that vibe too. Mm-hmm. I think, and that's kind of cool.
So go into your sad Christmas story. Talk about how you one time did not get what you wanted under the tree and how that shaped your entire adult personality. Go ahead.
No. I got exactly what I wanted this year at first. Okay. So, it's probably 2007, right? So I'm like 11.
All right, we're into the aughts.
Yeah. So I'm like 11. And are you familiar with the video game Rock Band?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rock Band came out that year, I think. I definitely got it that year. And opened it up. Oh, this is awesome. This is something I wanted, whatever. We'll play as a family later. You've met my family. I think you've even met my brother. Have you met my brother?
Once or twice many, many years ago when we were in high school.
Yeah. So anyway, my brother's like 21 at the time because I'm, 11. He's 10 years older than me. So we're in the basement as a family. I'm on guitar because I wanted to play guitar. My dad's doing drums. Make a note of that. My mom's singing and my brother's doing the bass guitar, right? So we start playing as a family and it's fun, Christmas, whatever. But we keep fucking up and failing at the song and fucking up. Okay. So I'm in my prime video game playing age. I'm kicking ass. My brother, a little bit of a man child. He's kicking ass. My mom, all she's doing is carrying a tune, doing a good job. My poor dad is playing the drums. The last video game he sat down to like play and got into was like Super Mario World, like 1990. So we fail like 3 times. And my brother says, "Hey, Dad, like, pick it up or decrease your difficulty," right? My dad's like, "It's at the
What
easiest
difficulty are the rest of you doing?
Me probably like hard, my brother probably hard, my mom probably easy. But my
Okay.
dad's like, "Hey man, it's at the lowest fucking difficulty." And so he's like, "Well, you got to pick it up, right?" My dad's like, "I'm fucking getting there. Get off my back." You met my dad. My dad's he's chill, but he's got some spice to him every once in a while.
He can be
Anyway,
firm.
yeah, he can be firm, tough but fair. So we failed 2 more times, and I'm just like happy.
Do you
Like,
remember what song it was?
I think it was "Don't," the Blue Oyster Cult song. It's like, "Don't fear the reaper, you'll be able to fly." That one.
Okay.
No, which one? I could be wrong, but I'm thinking it's that one for some reason. Anyway, again and again, 2 more times. So my brother looks at my dad and he's like, "Hey man, like, let's change songs or get it together." And my dad's like, "I'm gonna play this fucking song. You don't tell me what to do." And I'm starting to feel the tension. Like, ooh, like, this is Christmas night. We're supposed to be happy as a family. Ooh, okay, okay.
Ooh.
So, bah. So my brother says to my dad, "Well, quit being a baby then." So you don't call my dad a baby because he'll take it personally. So next thing I know, there's some expletives getting thrown. I'm like, I just
You're trying to save this round.
yeah, I'm trying to save I'm like, we can do it. This is the furthest we've gotten, And my mom's trying to keep the peace. Next thing I know, there's a physical altercation. My brother pushes my dad. My dad takes my brother to the ground and is holding his hands over his head with his fist back like that. Right. These are 2 grown men. I start crying because it's Christmas.
My instruments!
My instrument.
You see the drum set get knocked over in the scuffle. You're like, no!
Drumstick snaps in half. You ruined it. So he's there, and my brother is in a very vulnerable position, just yelling, "Hit me. Go ahead and hit me." And then an exploit. Right? And my dad is a bald guy, his whole head is like Rudolph's fucking nose, man. Bright red. And my mom's just ah.
Into the microphone.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, it's Christmas. I just remember crying and saying, "It's Christmas. It's Christmas." Right?
11-year-old Deuce just going, "Our Savior was born on this day. What are you doing?"
You're dishonoring the Christ. So eventually it all breaks apart. Things calm down. It's violent outbursts like that would usually mellow out in the next hour or two and everything would be okay. But that is my happy but sad Christmas story. After everything broke apart, obviously the rest of the family didn't keep playing. It wasn't just me and my mom doing a duet like Sonny and Cher style. Didn't happen.
You
No.
just switch up the song. I am my own worst enemy.
Yeah. Did it.
In your dad's defense, I always found the drums significantly harder than the guitar.
The drums were the hardest thing to play.
Yeah.
And at one point, like, I think my brother was like, "I'll just drum, dude. I'll drum." And he's like, "I can fucking do it." Because he's also like he's a very committed guy. Like he didn't want to get beat by the stupid game, by the stupid kids game, which I understand that. But I do remember whenever that whole thing died down, I was like, man, guess I'm just playing guitar by myself down here. just smoke on the wall, But that is that's
One is the
the
loneliest
loneliest number that
number
you
that you'll ever
ever see.
do.
Yeah. We almost had it. See, you should have been on vocals. But yeah, that's a good Christmas story. And
That's a
honestly,
good
like,
Christmas story.
I mean, it's a funny Christmas story, but that's like some sort of confrontation, not necessarily physical, but at least somebody throwing out a "go fuck yourself" was always like borderline tradition with my family on Christmas. And there's some sort of comfort in that. It's like, because everything usually turns out okay. And it's just like, yeah, I understand. The holidays are a stressful time. Let your rage out on your loved ones, and then everything's okay. Um, but yeah, we had two traditions. We had that, and then breakfast casserole in the mornings. And that's the best part of my Christmas, is having like that breakfast casserole, just like sausage, egg, and cheese, and like bread, kind of like a quiche, but with out of crust. So yeah, it's pretty killer though. You have any Christmas stories like that?
No, nothing like that.
Well, see,
Nothing that approaches that.
your childhood wasn't as vibrant, I suppose.
No, my dad doesn't play games. Like, we don't even reach the starting point of that situation. He doesn't participate.
Mine doesn't either.
And now as an adult, neither do I.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I think for him it was like I got my kid this for Christmas. We're gonna sit down and play as a family. It's gonna be happy. What could go wrong? It's a game where you slap plastic instruments. Nothing bad could happen.
Little did he know.
Little did he know, yeah. So I imagine you are having beautiful weather right now.
Today was kind of iffy, but yeah, for the most part, it's been pretty gorgeous out. We're talking like, during the evenings when you can walk around town, like low to high 60s, depending. So, hey, maybe you got to throw on a light jacket just to be super comfortable. But it's been pretty nice. And I got to tell you, I'm actually amazed with how I'm looking at the window. I'm not just turning my head that way for no reason. I am amazed by how much you can actually differentiate winter from the holidays. It's not as integral as I thought. You can still feel pretty festive.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Today we had 4-5 inches of like slushy, snowy accumulation. So it started at like 3 a.m. and like woke up around 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that, and it's like, yeah, those roads look horrible. So I was like, I live 7 minutes from the office, which is very, very close to the office. So I'm like, well, I don't really feel like working from home today. So I drive into the office. I get there. I had to turn the lights on at our office. Our office normally has like 200 people in it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, the building. In my department, though,
I just mean like out of 200 people, you were the first to show up.
There were some cars in the parking lot, but they were at the other end of the building, like product engineer type guys. But yeah, I got in there, turned the light on. I got into the meeting this morning, and just like our stand-up meeting, our 1 p.m. was like, oh, Andrew, it's great of you to join us. You weren't on this meeting the past 2 days. I had other stuff going on. And I was like, listen, I don't even want to hear it. I'm the only person in this office right now. And she started losing her mind laughing. She's like, yeah, that's a fair point. I was like, I had to turn on the lights. Like, no good. But I ended up working the second half of the day from home because it just wouldn't stop. Like, it was coming down. I was like fishtailing like most of the way home, which wasn't very pleasant. And it's just now starting to sort of mellow out. But did I ever tell you the story about hitting the deer in the middle of the city?
No, but before we move on from that story, I just wanted to say that that reminds me of a really good episode of Seinfeld where, speaking of you coming in super early and alone and putting the lights on, George figures out that if he leaves his car just at work, then his boss always sees it when he gets there and thinks, wow, George is the first one here in the morning, and he's still here when I leave after work. He's really putting in the hours.
How does he get to work then?
I forget what the solution is.
That's pretty funny though. That's a funny concept.
Mhm.
Anyway, because of the fishtailing earlier and how like shitty this drive was, it made me think back to in high school we had a snow day. You'd have been there, but we had a.
Well, we're the last generation to have snow days.
I know, right? No, they
Yeah,
actually.
everything's remote now.
Well, they can't. I don't know what happens when they cancel school for kids now. Like, because I know some guys that I work with are like, yeah, they already canceled school. And it's like, yeah, but what does that mean? Did your kid just pop open the fucking iPad or what?
For the most part, yeah.
Wow, that sucks. Snow days were so cool.
No, they were great, and literally they've been abolished by technology.
Yeah, that's the price of progress, I suppose. But,
I'm not willing to make that sacrifice.
yeah, right.
Smash the factories, destroy the machines, bring us back. We must return.
Seize the means of not producing technology. Anyway, because of like how bad the roads were, I was thinking in high school we had a snow day, and I had that. You remember that old truck I had? So snow was no issue. I was just driving around the town at 17 years old, not even caring about my safety or the safety of others. Anyway, I was
And
picking
these
up my
days, you started caring about your safety.
so I was picking up my friend, I'm picking up Nate, and we were gonna go pick up both of our girlfriends, and we were gonna go sled riding. That was like our plans for the day. So leading up to my ex-girlfriend house, it's a big hill. Like, she lived on the top of a hill, and everything's covered in snow. And there's like kids out playing just regular snow day stuff, like fun all around you. So I'm driving up this hill, and I see a flash. I hear a thud. We clearly hit something, and we're pointing up this hill. And I look over to Nate, and he's just like, and I was like, what was that? He's like, I don't know. All I'm thinking was, oh my God, I just killed a fucking sled rider. I just killed a kid. I'm going to go out here and just see like the ball on the top of his knit hat, like stuck in my grill. And, like his like just torso and fucking feet going out the back of the truck, right? So I get out.
The sled is all enmeshed in your grill.
Yeah, right. So I get out and I look like catty corner to, it's like a four-way here. And there's a woman like, ha ha ha, laughing. I'm like, okay, it probably wasn't a kid. Right. So I look and I don't see anything. So my front headlight
Was
is
this a snow witch? What woman did you see in the middle of a blizzard just cackling on the side of the road?
No. She was in a car. She was like at the
did
four-way.
you cast a spell? What's going on here?
Yeah, what is this? So she's sitting in her car laughing. I'm just like, okay, probably wasn't a kid, or she's a real sick woman. So I look, and the headlights cracked, and there's fur sticking out of it. Very clearly deer fur, right?
Or a very hairy child.
So yeah, right. That I immediately was relieved. I'm like, ah, I've killed deer before. I don't care about that. If this was a kid, this would have ruined my whole snow day.
But this would have repercussions.
Yeah, there'd be repercussions for these actions. So, and I looked back, and the lady rolls her window down. She's like, "It was a deer. He ran all that way."
As
Right?
if you're gonna chase him.
Yeah, like you gotta go. You gotta go
need to
finish
track
the
him down
job.
to exchange insurances. He went that way.
You gotta go finish the job. He's at least hamstrung a little bit. But so immediate relief, but also you would know the area. I'm not going to go describing the area, but it was by the high school. The hills by the high school.
Mhm.
Like, it was by the high school. there's like not woods around. There was just a deer frolicking through the middle of the city, and we ended up picking up everybody and going and sled riding. It ended up being a good time, but that was craziness. That was so wild.
You've seen the movie Scrooged, right, with Bill Murray?
Bill Murray, years ago. I don't remember much of it.
Oh, it's my favorite, well, not only favorite Christmas movie, but favorite iteration of A Christmas Carol. And I love the opening when there's the terrorists attacking the North Pole, and Santa needs the assistance of Lee Majors, and, they break out all the machine guns and everything, and, all the elves are getting killed. And then they reveal that it's actually just a commercial for a new movie, and they put in the name of the movie, and it's just like, The Night the Reindeer Died. And that very much reminds me of your situation.
Yeah, it wasn't a reindeer. It would have been a better story.
You don't know that.
That is
you
true.
Thought it was a kid. You have no idea.
It could have been a Christmas miracle. It could have been a kid dressed as a deer, honestly.
I mean, that's what you do in Christmas pageants.
It's a little paint.
Just a little 8-year-old late for his Christmas pageant.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So when I'm not watching A Christmas Carol or many of the iterations of it, I also love watching a couple TV Christmas specials. So, a regular TV show that has an episode or two that just takes place at Christmas, is Christmas themed. And there's a couple I watch every year, and they're all childhood favorites. These are all kid shows that I look back on. I'm like, oh, this is so fucking funny. This is quality. This is some good shit.
Yeah.
To start with, you got the Kim Possible Christmas special. Do you recall that one?
I don't recall the special. I barely recall that show.
When I say special, it was just an episode, but
that takes place on Christmas. Yeah, I barely remember the show, but go ahead. What happens?
So Kim is participating in all of the many extraneous family traditions, and Ron goes over to her house because canonically in the show he's Jewish, but he always participates in their Christmas.
Oh, that's nice.
He decides to, what's the best Christmas gift I can get Kim? They get a message from Wade on the communicator, and they Draken's up to something. And Ron's like, I'll put a stop to it myself. Kim can spend Christmas with her family. That's my gift. Ron goes to try to stop Draken. She goes taking vacation. They wrestle around. The plan gets stopped, but they end up getting blown across the world to the North Pole and crashing. And they are now stranded in the North Pole with nothing and have to rely on eventually Kim and Shigo to figure out what's going on to save them. But in the meantime, they've discovered that their favorite Christmas special, Snowman Hank, Frosty the Snowman derivative, has actually been canceled. And they bond over this in the memory of Snowman Hank. And I wish I'd written down whatever the line is that he says of be good to your fellow man. And I don't know, they bond over it, and it's a really cute ending of the Possibles travel and they spend Christmas in the North Pole because Draken and Ron have used garbage to put together this holiday theme setting. And I don't know, they all spend Christmas together, and it's very cute. It's very nice. Because I think anyone will tell you Ron and Draken are the best characters on the show. So to see an episode focused centrally on them is pretty great.
Ron's the only one I remember from the show that's even marginally funny. He's entertaining whenever he's on. I don't remember the show too well. I wasn't big time into Kim Possible.
It was a great show. Still is. Highly recommend it. And another one I always love, switching over to Nickelodeon, the Ed, Edd and Eddy Christmas special. Does that ring a bell?
If you start talking about it, well, I loved Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Great show. Eddie is obsessed with finding out what he got for Christmas, but he finds out he just got really shitty gifts like socks and underwear and really bad stuff. So he devises a plan to I'm going to, emancipate myself from my parents and go over and try to get adopted by each household in the neighborhood and try to, get in on their presents. Meanwhile, Double D and Ed are trying to teach him the true meaning of Christmas and how it's not about the presents under the tree, but the feeling that you feel inside your heart. And Eddie's not absorbing any of this. And he goes to each house, and he gets to see how the different Christmas traditions are. Rolf has a great one because it's so foreign and weird and bizarre. So he's doing, going to each house, and each one he gets booted out. because it's Eddie.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while this is happening, the Canker sisters from their trailer park see. Do you remember them?
Yeah, the Canker
Yes.
sisters are great.
Yes, they see shining in the sky a star, which they begin to follow. And as the episode progresses, you can see them trekking through the snow. And as they're walking, they discover these little things, which they pick up, including like a moldy piece of bread, and then like a fur jacket, and then just some hot dogs and some pennies. And they collect all this stuff, and the episode progresses, and Eddie continues to not learn the true meaning. Then it kind of appears that he does. Santa Claus drops off a bunch of gifts for everybody. Eddie proceeds to steal them. Double D and Ed try to get them back, and it ends with they are all in like Ralph's backyard in the barn. Eddie has been thrown into like a little wood trough, which he's sitting in. Double D, for this scam, was dressed as an angel, and he's now hanging from the
There,
floorboards.
swinging. Yeah, I do remember that.
And Ed is surrounded by, all the animals.
Mm-hmm.
And the Canker sisters show up, and they present all of their gifts.
Mm-hmm.
A moldy piece of bread, gold.
Yeah.
Fur jacket,
Myrrh.
and some hot dogs and pennies, francs and cents.
That's hilarious.
Is one of the most clever jokes I've still ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And that's kind of how the episode ends. Then they end it, they lock the doors, forcefully make out with the boys, and put on a little sign on the door like, don't open till Christmas, something like that. It's pretty good because it just gives you the best of Ed and Eddie, plus all of the what I think are really clever stuff with Christmas. And it's cool seeing the whole neighborhood and how everybody celebrates it differently. And it really gives you the best the show has to offer with just, the Christmas trimming.
Oh yeah, and that's one thing. Like Ed and
Did that
Eddie,
ring any bells describing it?
Yeah. Well, the end did, like that last scene with the like the major. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly Double D as the angel just floating there. And
I think it says something like, well, this looks familiar.
Yeah.
He says something like that.
Everything at Ed and Eddie's gold. Like the characters in that show are just they're perfect. They're just none of them are just junk. Like yeah, Ed and Eddie's great. So
what did you think of the controversial final season where it shows them in school? Because up until that point, the only stories had taken place in the cul-de-sac. Mm-hmm. But in the last season, they actually show them in school with the other characters.
Yep, it was always summer, and then they.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was still funny, but I think it still was going downhill. I can't remember. Is that the season they introduced Eddie's brother, or was that the season before?
Eddie's brother had always been talked about, but you don't see him until the series finale, I believe.
Really? It's the series finale?
I believe so, because we finally meet him, and obviously Eddie has talked him up so much as this great
He's
guy.
Just Eddie.
But then he's an older, even meaner Eddie who just beats the shit out of him. And then you see all the cul-de-sac kids come together and defend Eddie and kind of beat the shit out of his brother, and that's the series finale.
Wow, yeah. You remember it much better than I do. I should rewatch Ed and Eddie. It's got to be on a service.
Are Nickelodeon shows on a service?
I'm for some reason I'm thinking they may be on HBO. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I mean, you might be right. It's such a great show. I mean, I'm definitely gonna watch the Christmas special this month, but it's c'est magnifique.
It's definitely on HBO because Ed and Eddie wasn't Nickelodeon. Ed and Eddie was Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. Cartoon Network definitely superior to Nickelodeon.
Yes, I apologize for mixing that up. Yes, Cartoon Network was channel 64, Nickelodeon was 65. How could I forget?
Yep. Cartoon Network used to be channel 34 too, and then at one point it switched to 64. Yeah, trust me. Anyway, before you get on to your last special, the only the only like Christmas episode of a not Christmas show that I make it a point to watch year after year. Have you watched Black Mirror?
Only the episode where the prime minister fucks the pig.
That's episode 1.
Yeah, only that
Yeah,
one.
because
Because everybody told me that was brilliant, and then everything I've heard about it before is, it's not that good. It's not as good.
Yeah,
I feel
like
every
it.
review I hear of Black Mirror is like, oh, they had this idea for an episode. Didn't turn out that well, but
So a lot of times the concept is really good, but they don't have like a plot that really like serves the concept too well.
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that's every episode, but that's certainly a trend. But there is a Christmas episode of that show. It's called White Christmas, and it is it's more like Christmas time as a setting. It's like I guess a Christmas episode, kind of the way that that Die Hard's a Christmas movie, right? Like
So in every way possible.
exactly, yeah. So the concept to this one is John
Like
Hamm's
Bing Cosby White Christmas, or like a White Christmas?
no, it's somewhere in between, I guess. But so John Hamm's in the episode. He's like the main guy, really.
Mm-hmm. Love John Hamm.
He does an excellent job in this. So the concept is there's 2 guys in a cabin at the beginning, and they're talking, and they've lived with each other for the past 5 years and haven't really talked, right? For 5 years they've been living in this cabin, right? And it's Christmas, and John Hamm's character is making like a Christmas dinner, and he's pouring wine, he's loosening this guy up. He's like, yeah, let's just talk about it, whatever, that sort of thing, like open up to me, this guy. And John Hamm's just like, I'll tell you my whole deal, right? So
they've been living together for 5 years?
Yeah, and they haven't like really talked to each other, said a few
They're
sentences
roommates.
to each other. Yeah, but it's just them in a cabin, right? But they're roommates. Anyway, John Hamm's like, let me just tell you my like he just starts talking. So it does a cut. Essentially he's like this guys hire him to sort of like, he's like a suave, charming guy. So they hire him. People have cameras in their eyes in this universe, right? And he's looking through like the cameras in their eyes while they're out, and he's sort of coaching them and trying to get them dates. So his thing is go to office Christmas parties because the women are ready to cut loose, and he's sending these guys to like crash office Christmas parties to get lucky. So this guy ends up going. He's flirting with this girl. John Hamm ends up, he thinks getting this girl to go with this guy. They end up leaving together. The actress is actually the actress that plays who's the wildling woman that is in Winterfell in the first season of Game of Thrones. Asha?
In the show, Osha. In the books, Asha.
Asha, exactly. So it's the actress that plays her. And they go back, and she's like, go to the bedroom, whatever, and she brings out a drink, and they're having drinks, and she starts like saying like all this schizo type shit and giving him this drink. And then he's like, starts like blood's coming out of his mouth, and John Hamm's character is like, you gotta get out of here, man, whatever. And there's a bunch of other dudes watching, like it's a big group of them, and they're basically all watching each other like get laid, essentially, and like spying on women. Not good stuff, Well, the guy ends up dying. John Hamm takes and like tries to get rid of all the evidence, whatever. His wife finds out about it. He gets turned in. It's a whole thing. And the guy's like, oh, like says to him, he's like, so that was your gig then? You were like a matchmaker for these like losers, for these dorks or whatever. He's like, well, no, that wasn't my real gig. So what his real job is people get these things implanted into their brain for a week. They get pulled out, and then they get put in basically like an Alexa. So all it is a copy of your consciousness inside of the thing as a personal assistant, because who knows what like your routines would be and how to manage your life better than you. So it's like your consciousness, a copy of it stuck inside of this thing. And his job is basically to break the consciousness and be like, so you're going to do like this is your job now. You're a personal assistant. And the consciousness is like, no, I'm not going to do that thing. So what he'll do is he'll like fast forward time for them. So it'll be like, here, how about I give you nothing to do for 3 weeks, and we'll see if you're, you know, how excited you are about like, or how unwilling you are, I guess, to not like just do this personal assistant shit, right? So he does that to this woman, then he does it for another 6 months, and he breaks her, so she's like the perfect personal assistant. But that's his job, is people basically like get this service, and then his job's like setting up the service and like basically breaking this person, a copy of this person's consciousness, to be like personal assistant, whatever. So he says that to this guy. This guy's like, you're sick, like to do that to somebody, like they like you're torturing them. And John Hamm's like, they're literally lines of code, they're not real. But the guy's like, well, they don't know that, whatever. So then the guy starts talking. So this gets convoluted, but pretty much there's also a
It
thing.
passed convoluted a long time ago.
Well, it's complex. I hope you're sort of following.
I'm following it. It just sounds such the most bizarre concept for a TV episode. You watch this every year?
Oh, it's great. It's awesome. If you watch it, you're gonna be like, oh my god, this was like an hour of fit in 15 minutes of a very original story. Everything got tied back together. When you rewatch it, you're like, oh my god, you pick up things that like you didn't notice before. Anyway, this guy gets to talking. The eyes, like, everybody has the fake eyes that provide different services, whatever. You can block somebody. When you're blocked, it's a silhouette that's just like white noise. So he's with this girl and they're all happy, whatever. She ends up being pregnant, doesn't want to keep the baby. He wants her to keep the baby. They have a fight. She blocks him and then vanishes, right? Disappears for years. He sees that she died in a car accident. And then this whole time, he's like obsessing over this woman, stalking her. The baby is born. He's like, can't even see his daughter because the blocking extends to like the child of the person that was, because it becomes like a legally binding thing. It's like a restraining order, essentially. Anyway, when she dies, he goes and he's like, I'm going to go meet my daughter. He gets there. He's a white guy. She's a white woman. He goes to meet his daughter, and his daughter is Asian. And he's like, so this woman that he was in love with and obsessing over for years and couldn't communicate with because of this blocked thing, cheated on him, had some other man's baby, and that was basically it. Well, this guy has like kind of a psychotic meltdown, kills the little girl's granddad, and like scrambles away. This is on Christmas Day. The little girl goes to try to get help and freezes. So he basically is responsible for killing these two people, this old man and this little girl. So goes, does his, eventually gets brought in by the police, and he's not talking, right? He hasn't said a single thing. So he says the whole thing, basically admits to killing the old man and this little girl. And John Hamm's like, he's like, okay, guys, I'm done. You can pull me out. I did it. Right. So they pulled John Hamm out of the thing. It was like one of those consciousness things. And they sent him in there to basically try to get this confession out of this guy, right? From like his, consciousness or whatever. They go and they tell the guy like, hey, you've already confessed. It's fine. Like, you don't even have to talk now. John Hamm's like, so we have a deal. I'm good and clean. And she's like, well, you were, doing the Peep and Tom shit. So you're going to be on the registry. And he's like, the registry, what's that? And it's like, well, you're going to be blocked, but for everybody. So nobody can see him as anything but like red static. and it's like he's walking outside and Christmas music's playing and everybody's having fun, and people are just like avoiding him because he's like a sex offender, and it's just like you can just clear as day through your eyeballs see that he's this creep. He's flagged red or whatever, and that's how it ends. And I probably didn't do its due diligence, but there's just a lot going on, and it's awesome. It's written really well, acted very well.
Man, I just brought up like Kim Possible and like the Disney Christmas stuff. It's got
I'm not, I don't have much nostalgia.
I know it's really. I will say it definitely. I like how it connected at the end. The ending kind of brought it back to like, oh, okay, I get that clicks. I can get some satisfaction from knowing like, oh yeah, it all does come around story wise.
I think you'd actually enjoy it, and it's halfway through the story. I'm like, yeah, this is an hour and 15 minutes of like some heavy stuff. So this is gonna be, but we're already in for it. So gotta finish the whole plot, I guess.
You watch that every Christmas Eve. You turn it off. You're just like, "Hark the herald angels sing."
Just like grown up hot chocolate. I love Christmas. But yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, it's the season for convoluted TV shows.
Well, my last one is not convoluted. It is an episode of Recess. How much do you remember that show?
I remember that show. I don't remember any individual episodes of that show, I don't think.
Well, there is a Christmas episode where the school is putting on they don't call it a Christmas play, they call it a holiday play because it involves a lot of different things. And they are doing that, and they want Mikey to play Santa Claus.
Because he's big and fat.
Because he's big and fat, and he has the singing voice of Robert Goulet. And they're like, oh, he's perfect.
Yeah.
And he's always been a big fan of Santa, and he's actually writing a letter to Santa like he does every year. And then some kids at school tell him, well, specifically Randall tells him that Santa's not real. What are you doing? Grow up. What is this mess? And the episode comes to Mikey trying to go around and prove to all his friends that Santa is real. He goes to the Santa at the mall, not real. He sees the Santa in the Christmas parade, not real. He hears Santa on the radio, goes to the radio station, not real. And he gets pretty bummed out about it. Rips up his list, throws it in the gutter. He's real sad. And then he finds himself sitting outside a retirement home, and a nice old man beckons him over. A nice old man, voiced by James Earl Jones.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, calls him over. He's like, oh, who are you talking about? Oh, right, that guy. The one they always draw wearing a beard, having a beard. Because he has like some white scruff, but it's not, he's completely like no beard whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Mikey tells him his problems, and James Earl Jones gives him some advice. And Mikey decides to go through with the play and be Santa, and he shows up, at the last moment to take it because Randall has taken over the part. And there's actually a really funny joke where Miss Finster recommends Randall to replace Mikey, and the Hollywood agent is there because you always get Hollywood agents at grade school productions.
Yeah.
He says, "Let me hear your ho ho ho, kid," and Randall goes, "Hee hee hee."
Yeah, I remember that.
It's pretty great. And Mikey shows up, he does it, it's all a big success. And it's actually snowing outside when they walk outside. Apparently, it hasn't snowed there in decades for Christmas, and so that's real special. And then all of a sudden, Mikey sees James Earl Jones, and he's like, "Oh, you were able to come? How did you know?" And he's like, "Oh, you invited me, remember?" And he walks away, and then all of a sudden, out of the wind comes his letter to Santa, which he tore up, and he reads it, and they're like, "Mikey, didn't you tear that up and throw it away?" And they're like, "Yeah, you don't think." And you get like the reindeer and sled going across the sky. Oh, Merry Christmas. And so one of the gang says, "Do you know what this means?" And Mike is like, "Yeah, Santa shaved." And it's really heartwarming because it really goes, I think it provides a lot to the spirit of Santa Claus and seeing Mikey go through this journey. And I mean, it's so inventive. You get James Earl Jones playing a black Santa. That's out of the box. That's cool. And the whole joke about, oh yeah, the one they always show wearing a beard, yeah. It's
Yeah.
clear that just like annoys him how he's been represented in the media, and it's really good. It's only like it might have been actually a full episode, so like maybe 22 minutes, but it really hits home. It's really awesome.
It sounds good. It sounds very wholesome, very happy.
I hate that you couldn't remember any of these childhood things, which
I
I've beloved so much that I still watch them year after year.
I vaguely remember the Ed, Edd n Eddy episode.
Hmm.
And I have an image in my mind of Mikey dressed up as Santa, but I don't know if I just built that myself or if I'm actually remembering it. But
In
yeah,
the
that was
deep,
always
in the deep recesses of your memory.
Heyo.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, Recess was a good show. As Ed, Edd n Eddy was a good show too. Kim Possible, I was like, he could take it or leave it, but
it was a pretty great show, and the movies were great. Like that, the way they developed that show was so good.
yeah. Did you do you have any Christmas shopping left?
No, people buy things for me. Why would I buy things for them?
Yeah, I forgot how you are. So one of my groups of people was doing a white elephant thing. You know what that is?
Yep.
So it's like, okay, what bullshit gifts can you get? So I went into a Spencer's Gifts because whenever you need bullshit gifts, Spencer's Gifts. So this is like a little succulent and a golden toilet. This is perfect white elephant gift,
You spent money on that?
dude.
Wait, what was the ceiling on the white elephant?
We didn't set one, but I think everybody just assumed like $20. I'm I'm hoping so. But
You're gonna get dollar store items, and you spent $20 on that fern.
no, I think that everybody's gonna shell out like $20. I mean, you buy one gift, like who cares? It's $20. That's like it's like two and a half rides with Grinch the Scrooge. But no, at the checkout line, I was like, yeah, this will be like $10 or something. This is a $20 fucking toilet with a fern in it. This is
You
nonsense.
still bought it. That is nonsense.
Well, you can't take
try to
something
make it-
and then
No, make it something. I don't know. I don't think that's a place for gag gifts. You get something that's useful or that people would like. I don't know.
no, that's nonsense. It's as a we're all like this group is all adults. Here's my piece. If you want something or need something as an adult, you're just gonna buy it. Like that's why I'm
No. It's still nice to get. I remember, well, one in my family, I don't know how this started, but we always called it Dirty Bingo. I have no idea how that name came about, but
okay.
that I remember, I must have been a real young teenager, maybe only like 14. I got a really cheap tool set that I still use. It's in my kitchen closet right now. It's just a place where, I can keep a couple extra screws, some scissors, some tape and a hammer and, real basic stuff. It was a cheap thing, but it's like, oh, this is really useful. I'm so glad I won this. Not a
Yeah.
fern and a toilet.
Yeah, but I mean, I also have real tools that I got when I needed real tools. Like I don't know.
What about people like me who don't buy adult things?
I guess that's fair. You have me there.
This is our only outlet.
That's another thing is Katie was asking me, she's like, well, what do you want? I'm like, whatever, like I don't care. Literally anything and I'll be happy with it. She's like, well, do you want any tools? And it's like, you know what? Yeah, yes. I want this $500 table saw. Hook me up. Like, oh, you want any other tools?
You still feeling festive, huh?
Well, that's the thing is and that's like, people say I'm difficult to shop for because I just like I think this is most people. If you want something, you just buy it. Like I don't want much, but anything I do want, I just buy. Like
No, I'm just saying you're just yelling at her. I said I wanted the table saw. Oh, you don't want to get me what I want for Christmas. That's how you are. Okay, fuck you. She runs to the bedroom crying. You're like, baby, it's a family tradition. No.